Hey, hey, hey. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Brains and Baubles Live. I'm your host, Davina Dandridge. And just to give you a little bit about me, I am an author, I am a professor, and I am an emotional empowerment coach. And every week we meet here at 6 o'clock Eastern, where I talk about my special brand of emotional intelligence. I talk about how I have applied it to my life, how it works. And I also bring on guests who are willing to share how they are emotionally and healthy, what they do to remain healthy in most instances, and how they look for happiness in the things that they do in their lives. So if you are the type of person, or you want to become the type of person who creates the environment, creates the life that they desire, then you're in the right place. And I'm telling you, every week there's someone different. Every week there's a different story, and every week something's going to resonate with you that's going to help you increase your emotional intelligence. It's the only thing that can happen just by absorbing this information. All right, well, tonight is no different. My guest is another dynamic person that I'm bringing on. And the thing about this is, I initially started this process thinking about women, keeping women in mind. But as I explore, as I just start talking to more people outside of the classroom and outside of the people seeking help from me, just everybody, I see where people are applying emotional intelligence and they don't even know it. So if they find out that that's what they're doing, maybe they'll increase doing it. And so they can prove that you can have the life that you want by harnessing your emotions and making a plan to do it. Well, my guest tonight, I met years ago in broadcasting school. And I have a question. And, I meet with every guest beforehand just to see what they've been up to and just chop it up a bit, just to make sure that we're on the same page. Well, this conversation ended up being 2 hours long because we really had to catch up and really get to know each other. So, when 10 and 12 and 15 years go by, people change and things are different. Well, my guest tonight is William E. Smith. He is an author. He is an actor, and he was once had desires of being a broadcaster, and we'll find out what happened with him with that. Well, without further ado, I want to bring on my former classmate and another dynamic, emotionally intelligent person, William E. Smith. So we're just going to wait for him to come on in, and then we'll just go ahead and see what he's been up to. Will, there you are. Hey, you're still on mute. Let's see here if I can unmute you. Got it?
Okay.
There we are. Will, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, long time no see.
Long time no see. And I was just sharing with the people that we were really catching up with getting to know who we were, opposite from who we were back in school. Although
Right.
back in school, we only had a surface idea of who we are. This was in the late 90s, right?
Exactly.
To date ourselves. It's okay. We'll moisturize and water did us good. But, we had aspirations of doing things in broadcasting. We were good and grown people back then, weren't we?
Right.
In comparison to some of our classmates, we had experienced life. So tell me, Will, and we'll get to where you are now and all the dynamic things that you've done up until this point and what you're looking to do in the future. But where were you back when you enrolled in broadcasting school when we first met back in 99?
Well, I was married with children, and but we were separated. I got married at 19, and she had a son when I married her, so I was instantly a husband and a father at 19, and so I didn't really get a chance to try to pursue any dreams or goals or anything like that. I thought I would be able to do that after I got married, but that just shows how immature I was. I had to go to work.
Yeah.
And so when that period happened and we separated, I was like, man, all these things I put aside, I started to think about them. And so going to school to get into radio and video was something that I thought might be really, that I would enjoy. And so I went to go do that again, kind of late in life at the time, but and busy, but
Yeah.
it's something I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it was really a sacrifice for us too, because if you remember, we went to night school. So it was like you get off from work for working your full-time job and you're there from 6:30 until 10:30 at night, Monday through Friday. But
That's
it
right.
was an experience. And I still take with me a lot of the lessons in the classrooms things that we joked about while in class. I still think about those things to this day and have applied them. So what were your intentions when you enrolled? Did you have, I know I wanted to be a news reporter. I wanted to do hard political news. I saw myself in DC, I'm glad I took another path, but what was your intention at that time?
Well, I was already doing gospel plays at the time. I was writing my own gospel plays and doing them in Detroit and things like that. But I wanted to get into like movies and TV and doing my own movies and stuff.
Okay.
But going to school, part of it is like we had to take radio also.
Yes.
And I kind of found out I was kind of good at that.
Okay.
And it was fun. So I kind of was like, well, whatever door opens up, I'm just going to put my foot in both and see what happens. But my goal was mainly to get into video and movies and TV, stuff like that.
And you're in there.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
In there, and you're in it. Listen, I'm not going to brag on you. Look, this is your time to shine, Will. And for those of you who don't know, Will is a bona fide actor, SAG card carrying actor. And Will, would you tell people, here's what I'm going to say first before we get into the story of, some of the things that you've done. A lot of people think that they've gone past a time where they can explore something that's out of the ordinary, that isn't just looking for a job to work to take care of family. Now, my situation, we're about the same age. I was also married when we were in that school. So it was different because a lot of the students that were in class with us were much, much younger, and they didn't have the same responsibility. And so even with that, it was a great time. But the point that I'm getting is, there are people who think that they can't explore something like acting or something like news reporting or radio after they get to a certain point because they feel like they only have to work to take care of their family. I mean, I don't think that people are fulfilled if they don't just at least attempt to do something that they've dreamed about. I'm really big proponent of dreams because my dad was a dreamer. Oh, my dad was a big dreamer. My mom was a dreamer, and he helped her dreams come true. So your dream to become an actor did come true. How did that happen? And what was your first, how did you get your SAG card? Someone may want to know, what did you have to do, or how did you get to that point?
Well, I mean, I had, while I was still living in Detroit, because right now I live in Chicago, but when I was still living in Detroit, like I said, I was doing my own plays. I eventually got movie roles, but they were local movies, so I would be the lead. There are movies that you can go find on Prime or Amazon or whatever, and I am the lead, like a Happy Holiday.
Okay, I have to look
stuff like that. So then I've been in a few different movies, had roles, but nothing really blew up for me. So in 2016, I believe it was. Yes, it was 2016. I got divorced. Okay. And I was working like 3 jobs at the time. I was a manager at a casino in Detroit, and I was working 2 other jobs on the side. I had a wife, and she liked a lot of stuff, and I wanted to give her everything she wanted. We was always going on vacations, traveling the world.
I remember seeing that on social media, you doing all of that. Yeah, absolutely.
And but when we got divorced, I realized that the reason that I had all these jobs and was making all this money and doing all this was for her. It wasn't stuff I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed her. So I kind of like put my dreams and goals, even though I realize now, and her and I are still friends, and we've talked about this, but like when I met her and we were dating, I pick her up in limousines and would take her to movie premieres, and I'm in, in Detroit. It was local stuff, but it wasn't, it wasn't big time, but it was for us.
Yeah, but you got to keep that good feeling. You got to keep that going.
But she also wanted a lot, and so I got her work a lot, and so I couldn't go after those dreams and goals while I'm trying to work all these jobs and give her all this stuff she wanted. So it was kind of a, so I think we both should have had a little more discussion and some more direction on what we needed from each other. Yeah. But regardless, when it ended, I realized I didn't need all these jobs. I quit, and I just kept the job that I enjoyed the most. and it didn't even pay the most, but I didn't care. My kids were grown. I
Yeah.
was single.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I want to enjoy myself. So I started looking at cruise ships and just doing anything that would be fun. And all of a sudden, now in Detroit, even when I worked at the casino, people called me Terrence Howard. They would always say, "What's up, Terrence Howard?" They didn't know my name. They would say Terrence Howard. And so, but they would always say, "Hey, they put up a thing for a Terrence Howard lookalike," because they were shooting Empire in Chicago.
Okay. Okay.
And they would always say, "Hey, they need a photo double for Terrence Howard. Will, you should go try it." I was like, "Get out of here. I'm married. I'm a supervisor at a casino. I got good jobs, you know." But when I was divorced, somebody asked me again. And I said, "You know what? I said, let me go see." I took a vacation day, drove up to Chicago, and they said, "Well, we only need you. We need a photo double for Terrence Howard. You would be perfect, but we only need you 1 day a week. We only need you on Friday." Oh. And I said, "Oh, okay, thank you." Got in my car and left. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm not about to quit my job to come and work for y'all 1 day.
One day.
And then on my way leaving, about 30 minutes out, they called me to say, "Can you work tomorrow?" I said, "Yes." Took a vacation day, got a hotel room, and they worked me every day for 2 weeks straight. They had me being, but I didn't work for Terrence until Friday. So all these days, I was working. I was stand-ins. A stand-in is a person that stands in front of the camera and does everything the actor does before the actor does it. And then when it's time for the actor to act, the actor comes on and does it. Okay. So before that, they do all that with a stand-in. And so they liked me. They didn't want to lose me. And so they kept finding stuff to do. So I was standing in for Exhibit. I was standing in for Tay Diggs. I was standing in for
you're the stand-in man.
Yep, for Trey Byers, Jussie Smollett, they would have me stand in for all these different people. And any guest star they would come, and then on Friday, I'd stand in for Terrence. And eventually, they made it to where I became the full-time stand-in and photo double. So that means the photo double means that you would see me on camera. So whenever Terrence is washing blood off his hands and they're just showing the hands, those are my hands.
Well, whenever
you see Terrence holding the gun, but they don't show Terrence, they just show the gun in his hand. That's my hand holding the gun. That, you know, or he's driving down the street and you got a far picture from Terrence driving. That's me driving. Terrence wasn't even in the car.
They picked the right person, really.
Yeah.
They did pick the right person. And, you know, I purposely said William E. Smith. Is that your professional name? Because
yes, it is. Thank you.
Yes, because I know it can get confused.
Yep, and people would do that too when I would get into different plays and stuff. They would always say, "Oh, we got Will Smith in the play," and then it's like, you know,
like no,
you think it's a benefit, but then it's a letdown to the people when they come and they think Will Smith is really there.
And you want to be known as you.
That's true. That's true. I like Will Smith, but you know, I'm William E. Smith.
William E. Smith. You know, your story is a great testimony because you have to put yourself out there and take chances for things that you want. And you know, somebody could have said, well, you know, they're not shooting in Detroit. I'm not even going to try out for it because there's no way I could do it. But if you hadn't gone and they hadn't seen you, you don't know, they might not have had those opportunities already, but they made it available for you because you were in the right place at the right time. So being emotionally intelligent is also recognizing where sometimes you have to do stuff without knowing the outcome already, as long as it's in line with your dreams.
I agree. And sometimes you got to go with your feelings, I think, too. Like if you feel it in your spirit, if it feels good, if you feel comfortable, if you feel at ease, I think we need to chase that. And so many times, in the past, I felt like I missed a lot of opportunities like that because I wanted to wait for God to show me some kind of sign or something. And a lot of times, just that amazing feeling of peace in that area was enough, and I should have took it. But I was young and I didn't know any better. But now, if something pops on me and I feel peace about it, that's where I'm going.
I always talk about that because a lot of people are looking for an audible answer or something written in the clouds, or, you know, and, you know, those things could happen. I'm not saying that they couldn't, but a lot of times it's just the peace. And I think a part of, you know, this discussion has to be around self-awareness, understanding when you are in a good mental space, or where you are doing things to make sure that you stay balanced and that you are focused in the right direction. Because sometimes we can't get off focus. We can listen to other people's theories. We can listen to other people's stories of how it didn't work. If you knew someone who was an actor and they never got a job, and all they complained about was all this time and money they spent on headshots and going to all of these auditions and never got anything, and you let that sink into your experience, you might not have moved when the opportunity was there. Sometimes, the blessing is just having the opportunity.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, you started off this and you were talking about our age and the difference and how it's not too late. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you a benefit to me being older. So one thing, even though I don't look it, I was like, Terrence Howard would tell people that I was a son, and Terrence was only a year and 2 months older than me. And so he would tell Vivica Fox. I think to this day, Vivica Fox and well, I forgot the other name, Smith. She played Taraji's sister.
Yeah. Oh, Tasha Smith. Tasha.
What? Tasha Smith. And he would tell them that I was a son. They was like, real? So they might not believe him now, but I knew for a period they really believed it. But my point is that because I was older, I, like all of the other stand-ins, would always take pictures with them. They would go hang out with them. They would go to Jussie's house, Taraji, hanging out with her, and they would take pictures with them and post them on social media. And I never did that. Mm-hmm. And they would think I was crazy. And they would say, why not, Will? I said, because all that's going to do for you is going to make you feel popular to your friends and family. And they're going to think, yeah, you did something. It's going to give you some brownie points like that.
Yeah.
It's going to give you some kind of clout. I said, but to the actor, now you're a fan.
Yes.
I said, I don't want Taraji, Terrence, Trey Byers, Jussie. I don't want them to look at me like a fan. I want them to look at me like an equal.
That's right.
And what happened is, season 5, Terrence came out and he says, why don't y'all give Will a role on a blank show? I'm not going to cuss like him. Y'all tell he can act. Give him a role. And they came up to me and said, yeah. And actually, the Sanaa Hamri, I'm sorry, was talking about that anyway. So she was like, that's the perfect opportunity. And then season 5, episode 8, I had a speaking role, and I was the head of Empire Finance. And LeVar Smith was my name. And I was the only stand-in out of all the seasons of Empire that got a role on the show. But I was also the only stand-in who took no pictures with anyone. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They didn't want to listen to me. I'm just this old guy. Okay.
Yep.
But after I got it, then everybody listened. Everybody came after me. Didn't want to take no pictures with nobody. You know what I'm saying? But again, that was because I was older.
To maturity. You're absolutely right. There's a benefit to maturity because we are blessed to be from a generation that has known life without social media, without the internet, without having to put ourselves on display in this way. And we also have the ability to embrace technology and understand how social media works and the benefits of using social media. But the maturity and it's self-awareness as well, because we were taught that our reputation should precede us, or, it's important how we move in certain circles. We can't just be, unfortunately, who we really are all the time, because that's not necessarily professional. And so the benefit of you having come from this generation, and I think we're Generation X. Which one are we? I
think it's X, yeah.
From being I really should know this. From being Generation X is that we can take that knowledge and experience that we have, and then we can apply it to the technology and really propel ourselves in a way, speed things up a whole lot faster than it did back when we were doing it without all of social media and everything. So the story of being married and divorced and going into a career and changing careers and having to take other jobs because it's a dream deferred, not a dream put aside. Where does that leave time for dating or romance? Because I know as an actor, and then if you're working other jobs, and I know sometimes actors have to work other jobs as well, it's difficult because you have to make certain things a priority if you're going to be successful. Knowing what you know now of having been married and wanting to pursue acting, are you dating? What's it like out there for you in the dating scene?
I'm not sure if you and I talked about this when we were catching up, but I really haven't been on a date in a few years, probably sometime before COVID.
Okay.
And, and I was still on Empire at the time, and I was dating a young lady that worked on Empire. She was actually Taraji's stand-in.
Okay.
But I outside of that, I haven't dated anybody in some years now.
So you're Terrence's stand-in, she was Taraji. Did people look at you strange in public, like do a double take?
No, we kind of kept it secret. So not a lot of people.
All right.
Only our close friends knew about it. The ones that, but a lot of people didn't know. We kind of kept it private. So
okay, I thought that would have been interesting. But yes, go ahead, please tell me.
She's had several. Terrence hasn't had that many stand-ins. He's had me and one other guy.
Oh,
but Taraji's had like 5. So I can say that. They can try to figure out which one.
They don't know who it is. Okay, good.
Yeah, she knows. but so I haven't really I haven't really dated that much lately. I've been more so learning to love myself. I've been dating myself. And I know that sounds cliche, but I promise it's true. Like I said, I was married at 19. I had a lot of anxiety, fears, phobias that I really didn't even know that I had.
Yeah.
And I talked to my kid's mother not that long ago, because her and I are writing a book together, as a matter of fact. But I talked to her not that long ago, and she told me she's always seeing that in me. And I didn't see it because I was so busy preaching the gospel, studying the Bible, working jobs, being a father, being a husband. I had 4 kids. I had multiple jobs. I was always at church anytime the doors was open. I was a deacon, a minister, preaching, going out ministering like a Jehovah's Witness, even though I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. So, I was busy, and I was so busy doing everything for everybody else. I never focused on me. So actually, when the pandemic hit, I thought I was losing my mind for a period because I saw all these problems that I had. And I'm thinking that something just hit me like I lost my mind. But I realized once I calmed down that I had always had all these problems. Yeah. So, and I saw how they affected everything I did, how I raised my kids, how I handled my marriage, my jobs, my employment, everything. So I have been dating myself. And I really mean that. I have been taking myself out. I would go to restaurants, even posted on Facebook. It's just me by myself at Red Lobster. Just me. I just went to Paris by myself.
I was going to say that. You just told me you went to Paris. Yeah. But that's so important
for myself.
And I don't care. I'm sorry. That's before
go ahead.
We were actively talking about self-care. Self-care was forced during the pandemic. We got a chance to, I went through everything from working on my skin and just, making Jeff Bezos even richer, buying things because I was experimenting with all of these different things I wanted to do myself at home with self-care because I had the time now. But as far as dating, I think that it's important, especially when you've been through divorce or you've been through relationships that aren't working in the way that you would want them to work, to just step back and do an assessment of self, to, see how am I thinking? What am I doing? I always correlate emotions to the environment. So if I'm having an emotion that's impacting me, that emotion is impacting how I'm thinking. And if that emotion is impacting how I'm thinking, this is impacting how I'm behaving. And that behavior creates the environment. So if I'm only bringing or attracting people who are not getting me where I want to go emotionally or romantic wise, or even if they're on the same track where I am as far as ambition, then doggone it, I need to reverse engineer that and see what it is that I am doing to cause this behavior to be acceptable to get this environment. Am I making sense with that? And I think when I took a break from dating, then I was able to really decide what type of person I wanted in my life, because I had taken a break and I could eliminate just what was there by default. So I think that's a great tip or a tool, is to take that time to just kind of contemplate. I love that word, contemplate. It's not that you're focused necessarily on one specific area of your life, but you're giving yourself time to really see who you are so that you can be the better person in the next relationship.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
Yeah. So right now you're still on a pause for the moment.
Yeah, still a pause. Still
Okay.
a pause. I had honestly planned to date last summer, and it just didn't work out. I just didn't feel ready yet. I feel like, again, I followed my peace, and which is a new thing for me. I have never done this, but this is a new thing. But I'm loving this, because whenever I do, things work out wonderful for me.
They do.
And so when I feel that peace to do that, even if I meet somebody that makes me feel a peace, then I will go for it. If I meet them later today, tomorrow, then I'll do it. So it's not like a time limit, when somebody brings me a peace feeling.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to see what else they got.
You're secure within your own decision making internally to wait. You don't have to pursue, because the opportunity is going to come. I coach women all the time that, when they are doing the thing that makes them feel good or that they're interested in, that's when they're most attractive. So if I were single and the thing that I love to do the most is to go to the museum, I'd be hitting up museums all the time, because I would be in my element. I would be shining. It doesn't hurt when that confidence is there, when you're at peace doing something you want, that you're more attractive to other people. And I just believe that that's the way that it is. So Will, you're acting now. You said you were writing a book with your ex-wife. You already have a book published. Was that your first book? What's the title of your book?
The first book, I actually have two books that are published.
Okay.
I have the first book is called Healing Rainbows, Embracing the LGBTQIA plus community with scriptures. And the second book is How to Stop Nail Biting, How to End Nail Biting Forever. I think this is the first one. I don't know if can y'all see Healing Rainbows?
Oh, yep, I can see
That's
it.
my first one.
Okay.
And this is my second.
Is in nail biting?
So
really
and the one I'm doing
nail biting?
Yes, about nail. I bit my nails for decades, and I found a way to stop. And I've shared it with family and friends for a long time, and everybody kept saying it works, it works. And they were like, "You need to write a book about it." And I've been putting it off for years. So I finally said, "Let me go ahead and write a book about it."
Well, as you can see,
and so I got on the nail biting.
I'm not a nail biter at all.
Nice nail.
Yeah,
and I think it's especially embarrassing for men who bite their nails. Women can bite their nails and still be cute, but a man biting his nails looks funny. You know what I'm saying? And men feel funny when we do it. So I mean, when I go back to my high school pictures, all my heads are all balled up, and I never show my nails.